after that little cinematic, it's time to go over my latest repaint. Hang on, this is a little zoomed in. That's a little zoomed out. Let's see if we can meet in the middle. There we go. We have Terry the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Now, I remember a while ago, someone said that he wanted me to do, or they, I don't know what gender they are, they wanted me to do the Spinosaurus and repaint it into spiny. But unfortunately, I only have one Mattel Spinosaurus, and I'd like to keep it the way it is. It's the same story with how I only have one giant Allosaurus from Mattel, and I don't want to repaint that into beef, no matter how much I want to. I just can't because they already look nice the way they are, and they're very expensive to get like 2 of them. So, really, I think the best thing to do is wait for like a Hammond collection version of the Spinosaurus and the Allosaurus, and those can be like the new main Jurassic dinosaurs, and I can repaint my current Allosaurus and Spinosaurus into beef and spiny. But now we're enough about that. We're here to talk about Terry, the Tyrannosaurus Rex. This is one of the, again, it's the same story where it's like, I don't want to paint any of my T-Rexes due to the fact that, like, well, I've only got, like, the one epic roaring T-Rex, and I'd rather keep that as a Jurassic Park T-Rex. But here we have the good old Terry. This is, like, the miniature T-Rex, the battle damage T-Rex. Putting these two side by side, you should be able to tell that one is bigger than the other, although I guess with the way I've angled it, it's really hard to tell, although you can definitely see just from this alone that one T-Rex is bigger than the other. Oh, it's gonna lean. This is the cheaper Rex compared to all the other Rexes, which cost like the Hammond Collection T-Rex, which is like flooding Walmart, by the way, cost like $84. This guy only 30. It's like the cheapest T-Rex on the block. Not saying it's a bad T-Rex or anything. I'm just saying that makes it easier to just buy one and turn it into Terry. It also means it's superposable, which is also very good for, like, stop motions. Because, well, I will use this guy for Dino Duels eventually when I start resuming filming. It just got colder here. But, for now, yeah, he's, like, I can use him more. I'll most likely use him, like, an episode of Movies United, though I have yet to make the Alpha Gang yet, so it might be a while before he actually shows up in one. There's not really a complicated story behind painting this guy. It's just that I painted the tail, the red, and then added on the camel color underneath it, and that was like the tail, all just separate. I just separately did the tail on its own before attaching it, so that it'll be easier to paint. Then after that, I did the rest of the T-Rex, painted the whole upper half red. Multiple coats were necessary to get rid of that brown color, and then on the bottom I added the camel color, and it was all just pretty simple. It was just simple paint it. That was pretty much it. And then the yellow, I just added on the yellow, and again, multiple. This one just took multiple. Wow, on camera, that yellow looks a lot darker, which actually makes it look more like Terry. You look like a better Terry on camera than you do in person, because in person it's a very bright shade of yellow, a little too bright, but it's fine the way it is. And if you're wondering why the yellow stripe doesn't go all the way down to the tail, it's because every time I look at images of Terry, it turns out that the stripe does stop right there. I could have extended it if I wanted to, but I wanted to keep it like, hey, if the promotional art actually says that's where the stripe stops, then that's where I'm stopping the stripe. I did take a little creative liberty on where the yellow goes on his face. Maybe went a little extreme. I think that's a little higher than it's supposed to be. It's pretty a little lower. But I was just taking advantage of where all the scoots and bumps on the face are. Then I just gave him a lovely shade of green on the eye, followed by another coat of glow-in-the-dark green paint and a black dot to give him glowing eyes. Not that I could show it on camera. As I've stated before, glowing, it's very difficult to get that glowy effect on camera. So it's more of an in-person thing. I was pretty tempted to, like, color the scars in, but I don't really have a flesh mix, and I'm not a fan of mixing my paint because it's like that's a lot of paint and it's expensive to use it all to mix a certain color. Maybe in the future I will paint that eventually, but another reason being that my tiny paintbrushes tend to break very easily, so I was kind of against using it to just paint those little scars. Plus it just gives them that look of like they faded scars, not fresh scars. So that's pretty cool. This Terry is battle-hardened, even though realistically Dinosaur King dinosaurs unrealistically don't get that. What a sentence to say. Realistically, The dinosaurs, unrealistically, never get scarred in battle in Dinosaur King. Wow. And of course I gave him those obsidian claws. Now, while painting this guy, is like, on the first, it took multiple coats to finally get the shade of red that made me happy, although it is a lot darker in certain areas. Like, you can see here, it's a little, you can still see the original, sort of the original brown color, but unlike Fish and Chips, where the original color just becomes so jarring that it becomes like a stain on how I feel about the figure in general, that black doesn't actually look like an eyesore to me. It just looks like, again, just highlighting those battle scars he has. Additionally, I threw in some glow-in-the-dark paint inside of his mouth. I bought some orange one to, like, put it in there and see if that would give him, like, a fiery effect in his mouth. But it just made his mouth very green, because apparently orange glow-in-the-dark paint still comes out green for some reason. Why would you even bother selling it then? If it's just going to come out green, I'll just buy the green glow-in-the-dark paint! Now, right off the bat, I probably should have said at the beginning, the only thing he's missing are those spikes that run down his back. But I decided, nah, let's just leave him like a Jurassic Park-styled T-Rex. Just like how I did for Fish and Chips, where he doesn't have his, like... Again, he also has spikes, but I didn't glue them on. I could glue them on if I wanted to, but I really don't want to go through the effort of gluing on multiple... first... making individual spikes, baking said spikes, and then gluing said spikes one by one along his back, and then finding out that one of the spikes is off-centered, and I have to rip it off, taking off a chunk of the plastic and paint with it before gluing it back on. And speaking of gluing stuff onto these figures, as I've stated with my boy Utah, those head quills do not stay on very well, because as weird as it is to say it, super glue ain't as super as you think. I guess he still has the battle feature, even though now that he's full on red, it doesn't really change anything, because he's just, now I see why there are no dinosaurs colored red in the battle. No, wait, that's not true. The Pyroraptor, no, wait, but they put up a shade of black on it. So it really, actually, I could have just, I didn't even have to bother painting those stripes red, because this well, once you get it right, this is already pretty red indeed. So this battle damage feature is kind of useless now. I could have, if I wanted to, bought the T-Rex that came with the Jeep and Tim, but that cost like $90, and as I said, this is the cheaper T-Rex. I bought the cheap T-Rex to get a Terry that looks awesome, and it's still smaller than the other T-Rexes. So that way, he doesn't look like an absolute giant when compared to his buddies, even though realistically, he actually, no, not realistic. The scaling in Dinosaur King is kind of whack, so one minute, Terry and Chomp are the same size. Next thing you know, Terry's like gargantuan compared to these guys. Honestly, this is, I guess the only problem is that Chomp and Paris are too small, but this is roughly how I'd imagine the scaling goes in Dinosaur King, with Spiny being the biggest of the main six. Better cross your fingers and hope that one day they make a Hammond Collection Spinosaurus, because if I can get my hands on that, then this guy could become Spiny. Same case with the Allosaurus, I could turn that guy into beef. And pray to the almighty tank that Mattel finally decides to make a Cychenia, so I can buy that and turn it into Tank. And I still have a ton more Dinosaur King repaints in mind. Heck, because I have this dude, I could turn this one into the Dinosaur King Ceratosaurus. But that is really all I have to say about this repaint. Yeah. This is a pretty cool repaint. Hope you guys like it. Bye.